So this is lore. So people during the Elizabethan times accepted witchcraft as a fact of life. Storm knock over your armada, witches. Your neighbor's crop fail, witches. Additionally, Queen Elizabeth's revision of King Henry VII's Witchcraft Act in 1563 changed the punishment for practicing witchcraft. While the original law had made all witchcraft punishable by death, this new revision meant that those practicing witchcraft who did not commit murder would be imprisoned rather than executed. So if your satanic ways got your neighbor's cow sick, you wouldn't die, just go to prison for a year or so. The penalty for killing someone or destroying them would still be the death sentence. 3 years later, 3 women in Essex would stand trial for witchcraft. Agnes' mother, Waterhouse, her sister, Elizabeth Frances, and her daughter, Joan. Agnes was in her 40s. Joan was 18. I'm not sure of Elizabeth's age. I think she was older than Agnes, just based on the way she talks. So the 1566 trial was held in Chelmsford during the Midsummer Assizes. Now, if you read that word, it says assize. It is A-S-S-I-Z-E-S. So this is assize. So twice a year, the judges from London's top courts travel to the larger towns in England and Wales to hold assize courts. I know that's not how you say it. I don't care. Initially, they dealt with just property law, but expanded to include criminal charges as well, including homicide, theft, highway robbery, rape, assault, coining, forgery, witchcraft, trespass, vagrancy, recusancy, which are those who remained loyal to the Catholic Church and refused to go to the Church of England's Protestant services, and infanticide, which I wonder why they made that separate than homicide, but they did specifically put that one in there.
Okay.
I'm also not sure what coinage was. I think that maybe like counterfeiting.
I'm not sure offhand.
Yeah. Yes. She had some people present at the trial, including Reverend Thomas Cole, Sir John Fortescue, who was keeper of the Great Wardrobe. That used to be a job. And the Queen's attorney and justice of the Queen's bench were also present. So these were all people that were known at Queen Elizabeth's court. So they come down to Essex from London to go have this trial. And this trial is particularly notable because it is the first documented in a witch chapbook. Chapbooks were inexpensive pamphlets that were available to the masses, kind of those first things that were getting mass printed on printing presses. And they kind of served as newspapers. And
original zine, if you will.
Yeah. And those on witches serve as some of the best documentation we have for the witch trials, but they were also pretty sensational. So the chapbook for this, which is the examination and confession of certain witches at Chelmsford in the county of Essex before the Queen's Majesty's judges the 26th day of July, 1566. Banger of a title. I think they just took that one right out. So this is not necessarily the most accurate version of the trial, and they do have transcripts, like there's stuff from the assizes, so we know some of the stuff I'm about to tell you isn't true. But this is the version that becomes most known to the public. Mm-hmm. The author's moral attitudes are going to be plainly evident, and the content, like I said, was highly sensational because it was meant to be read by the masses. And we're going to talk through the confessions that are in this pamphlet. And I will attempt to interpret the Old English as best I can.
God bless you.
So we start off with Elizabeth's confession. So Elizabeth Frances' confession was first. She confessed to learning witchcraft from her grandmother Eve at the age of 12. Eve taught her to renounce God and to give her blood to Sathan. Sathan was the white-spotted cat her grandmother gave her. She told her to feed it bread, milk, and blood. Her cat. The cat named Sathan. So Elizabeth told the cat she desired riches, and he said in a deep, hollow voice, she should get things. What would she like? And so she asked for sheep. I guess that could be useful. He brought 18 black and white sheep into her pasture. They were with her for a while, but eventually left. I'm not sure if they magically vanished or just got bored, if she was just a bad shepherdess. She didn't ask for those skills. This was unclear. So every time that Sathan did anything for Elizabeth, she required a drop of blood, which she got by pricking herself. Now, if you have a cat, you know this is true. So Elizabeth wanted to have Andrew Biles for a husband. He was a man of some wealth, and the cat agreed that she should have him. But first, she must consent to Andrew abusing her, and so she did. I believe abuse to be Elizabethan for to have sex with and not the modern usage, but they also beat women all the time back then, so who knows? And so Andrew abused her but did not marry her. So she willed Sathan to waste his goods. And then, not being content when that was successful, she willed Sathan to touch his body, and Andrew died. So Andrew was dead, and Elizabeth was pregnant. She willed Sathan to end the pregnancy, and he told her to take certain herbs and drink them. And when she did, the pregnancy was terminated. Elizabeth wanted another husband. Sathan again agreed, and this time she became Elizabeth Frances. She had to consent with fornicating with Mr. Francis, and that's why her daughter was conceived within a quarter year after they were married. See if that makes sense to you as something to note, because that seems like it's very reasonable within a time frame.
Very reasonable, yeah.
So anyhow, things were as quiet as Elizabeth wanted. So she willed Sathan to kill her 6-month-old child.
No.
Extreme. Still not satisfied with the noise level, she wanted Sathan to take care of Mr. Francis, and so it hid in his shoe so that when he touched it with his foot, he was forever lame. Somehow, I think the killing your 6-month-old child was worse, and it seems like a self-punishment to make your husband lame, like he's ever going to get up from his chair again.
Right.
Like you're going to have to do fucking everything.
You think things aren't quiet enough, and now you're going to have a man that can't get up, you can help take care of? Man, things will not be quieter.
I don't think he made a wise choice there. But she did keep the cat for 15 to 16 years. When she had had enough, she traded it to Mother Agnes Waterhouse for some cake. Not sure what kind of cake, and I feel like this is an important detail. But she brought the cat over in her apron and passed on what she had learned. Feed the cat milk, bread, and blood, and call it Sathan. So Mother Waterhouse's confession. So after she got Sathan, Mother Waterhouse wanted to test out what the familiar could do, so she had him kill one of her pigs. Again, that does not seem like it's self-serving.
No.
You killed one of your own pigs. So for his work, she gave him a chicken and a drop of her blood. She fed him blood by pricking her hand or face and putting the blood to his mouth while he sucked.
Why his face?
I don't know, but if you look at my head in the middle of my forehead, you can see the line of blood that my cat drew last night as she sat there plucking my forehead. So cats suck blood out of your face. It's just what they do. So anytime that she would will him to do anything for her besides the blood, she would say the Our Father in Latin. Mother Waterhouse confessed that she had a falling out with the widow Gaudet, and she willed Sathan to drown her, and so he did. And she rewarded him as before. The next falling out with a neighbor ended with 3 dead geese. Then there was some stuff with some beer and some butter, and she's just kind of all over the place with the intensity of the cursing, like drowning versus ruining someone's beer. As I guess, like maybe her neighbors were pissing her off in different ways. Like one is like just playing the music too loud. One is like banging her husband or something, right? So those are just gonna be different things. So, but she also wanted her husband to die. And so he did slowly over 4 years. But she has been a widow ever since. And then she decided that she wanted to use the wool the cat was using to sleep on. So she turned the cat into a toad by praying the Our Father in Latin. So now Sathan is a toad. So the toad warned her that she was going to be apprehended and that she was going to either be hanged or burned shortly. But that was all she was going to say at this time. Now, her daughter Ione's confession. So she said that last winter, her mother wanted her to learn witchcraft, but she didn't. She just didn't really care to. She saw the toad in her mother's hand once, though, and heard it call it Sathan, but she was never really taught anything about witchcraft, nor did she practice any. She confessed that once, though, when her mother went out in town, she lacked bread and went to a neighbor's child who denied her the snack she requested, or at least not so much to satisfy her. So I think like she went over to her neighbor's house to get food, and they didn't give her enough food. So
they
she
gave her some, but not as much as she wanted. And so she was like, ugh.
So she goes back home and she remembers her mom calling Sathan. And so she calls Sathan, and Sathan comes to her, but not in the form of a toad. Sathan is now a dog. And when asked what she wanted, she said she wanted to make the girl afraid. And for that, she said she would give him a red cock. He said no, he wanted none of that. He wanted her body and soul. And then he turned into a dog with horns on his head, and this freaked her out to this very day, and she never messed with witchcraft again. And that was one of the confessions. So there are, these go on a little while longer, but so ends up with Elizabeth Frances escapes the death sentence this time, maybe by turning state's evidence, or maybe she had friends in high places. I mean, she confessed to killing a bunch of people in this thing. But her reputation never does recover, and 13 years later, she was tried again and hanged. Joan, I don't know, I just call her the modern version, that would be Joan. Joan was found not guilty, and her mom, however, was executed on hanging July 29, 1566, 2 days after this trial ended. This is often said to be the first witch executed in England, but executions for witchcraft had occurred before. They were just generally under the terms hearsay or treason. But so the other witches had been executed and burned at the stake and whatever, but not necessarily this specific law. This was the first time after. So anyways, so that's the story of the Waterhouse and Francis's and their familiars, Sathan the cat, the toad, and the dog.